My name's Stephen Goakes. I'm the Managing Director of Natgen Group, and I'm talking to you today about Natgen Development Trust YB24, which is our latest short-term development trust based on an asset in Yarrabilba in the centre of the Southeast Queensland Growth Corridor. So we've been watching Yarrabilba for some years. It's been going for over a decade, and it's now to the point where it's got substantial infrastructure. It's a master planned community which is intended to have a population of around 50,000 by the end of the master plan period in about 20 years' time. So we're about a third the way through the development phase of the entire estate. We've been watching it for about 5 years and waiting to get to that sweet spot where we think the infrastructure has reached a level where more people will come, but also the cost of development and land prices haven't yet got too high. So we've literally watched every year and made a value judgment, and 2024-25 is the time that we think development within Yarrabilba has hit that sweet spot. It's been designed and executed by Lend-Lease communities to this point and involves the creation of around 5,000 allotments so far, and that's to increase to allow for that 50,000 residents. I'm told that 50,000 residents makes it similar in size to Gladstone, so you can see that when you make that comparison, there's a lot of infrastructure required to support that number of people. So for example, there's multiple schools, multiple childcare centres, multiple shopping centres, actually a literal town centre that will have substantial facilities for people. There's a tavern, there's all sorts of facilities that you'd expect in a medium-sized town, and yet within 45 minutes of a capital city, and also similar distance to the Gold Coast and all the facilities available there. The part of Yarrabilba that we're interested in is the business and industry zone, which has just been released, or part of it has just been released for sale to people such as ourselves. We've chosen 2 allotments within one of the early stages of this business and industry zone, which allows us to build a office warehouse facility, which is very similar to what we've done previously in a number of places. As you'd be aware from our OR23 and CM23 development trusts, we look for areas with significant growth potential and where people are looking for a similar style of asset in terms of warehousing and office. So we've chosen 2 allotments which add up to a bit over 4,000 square metres, or just over an acre in the old money, and we've taken those on a corner which is very efficient when it comes to circulation for traffic and what have you, because we don't have to turn anyone around on a site. We can actually bring them in off one street and they can exit the site on the other street. Important for customers, but particularly important for trucks and large vehicles. So the sites are fully serviced. They've literally just been created and will be titled before we settle on them in December this year, 2024. So they have all the latest in services, fully sewered, stormwater, obviously electricity, underground electricity, NBN, all the services you'd expect in a modern, well-serviced industrial location. Also, the other attributes of them is there's a gentle fall across the site of about 1 metre in the entirety of the site, which gives a little bit of articulation which we typically look for. A perfectly flat site is not what we look for particularly, and we certainly don't want anything that is too hilly either. So in that sense, it's a good location. Wongawallan Drive, which is the main street fronting our major frontage, is currently being developed and will run from the existing village centre in Yarrabilba and will run around and actually connect up with the future town centre. So it's a wide street and will get more important as time goes on and is connected to other parts of the development as they go forwards. We've arranged an option to purchase the site from Lend-Lease, and it's intended to be completed in December this year, 2024. The Yarrabilba Master Plan is a really impressive document which shows how to turn basically an empty property into a fully serviced city. That includes every possible service that you'd need, which has to come from other places, of course. That includes making sure that the 50,000 eventual residents have all the facilities that they need to live, work, shop, learn, and every other part of life. So that has all been preordained within the master plan. Yarrabilba is also a priority development area within the state government, and the instrumentality is called Economic Development Queensland. The advantage of being a priority development area is it actually provides prescribed uses within various areas. So whilst we still have to go through an approval process to build our development, provided that you fall within the guidelines, it's an abbreviated approval process, and we're looking forward to being able to fit within all the guidelines that EDQ have set down for this area. On top of that, we also have the advantage of Lend-Lease as the master planner of the community, and they've been very helpful to this stage and will continue to be in providing us with information about what we should build and how to build it effectively within the confines of the PDA. Because of the PDA and that approval process, we have a preferred builder already in mind and a preferred financier. So it's really a matter of going through the process that we get from A to B in terms of a development. That is, choose the site, do a preliminary design, and what you will see within the information memorandum is our preliminary design for the site. As with every other Natgen development trust, that just then goes through an iterative process to make it better and to get the highest and best use for the site. So by the time we choose the builder and go through the design and construct contract phase, we've already done a great deal of envisioning what it's going to be and preliminary design, and obviously been through the DA process as well. So that means that by the time we get to the building contract, we're very clear on what we're building, and we're able to make sure that that's done in a pretty quick time. So for this project, we'd expect the build to take between 6 and 8 months, and probably closer to the 6 months time frame rather than the 8 months. That's also assisted by having a site that's so well serviced and well prepared by the developers. During the building phase, we then start our sales process, and sales start with off the plan sales, but the majority of our sales typically come once the walls go up on one of these properties. We start our marketing campaign in earnest once the walls go up, and have the sales happen within about the next 6 months thereafter typically. We've had the site valued and also the gross realisation at the end of the project valued, and we take these valuations as our base case for our investment analysis and the numbers that we put in our information memorandum. Being in a priority development area gives us confidence that we'll have an abbreviated development program, which our base case allows for being 18 months in this case. Our financial analysis indicates around a 25% return over that 18-month period. Given the approval process being quite short, and also the process that we get through to build the thing, we're able to get our initial design done prior to approvals, and then following that, once we choose our preferred builder, we go through a design and construct phase where it's possible to refine the design further and engage in value engineering to ensure that we get the best return for investors. Natgen Development Trust YB24 is similar to some previous Natgen projects, starting with our YC19 Development Trust, which was built and sold in 2020, and that's operating now still after a number of years successfully. We also in 2023 did OR23 and CM23 development trusts, and they're both under construction currently. OR23, which was the earlier of those two, now has sales of around 50% of the units in the trust, and the roof's gone on about a week ago, so it's going along well in terms of its sales. And CM23 is just coming out of the ground at the moment, with the tilt panels being poured right now. Some of the attributes of a short-term Natgen Development Trust: that it is built and sold within a relatively short time frame. So for YB24 it's an 18-month time frame. For some of the others it's a 2-year time frame. For YC19 it was less than that. So we develop and sell, and the investors get their investment back within that short time frame, including any development profit during that time as well. In selecting development sites, the old adage of location, location, location is absolutely relevant. So we look for areas that we see future growth potential in, and we assess that by looking at population growth, economic growth prospects, and any other indicia that show that this will be a long-term valuable place to be. And at the end of the day, for our unit holders, that's what we're always seeking to do. We're looking for long-term value so that the unit holders in a medium-term Natgen trust can leverage that value whilst they're in the trust, but also we've got something to sell on to make some capital profit at the end. That's actually critical in everything that we do to make sure that long-term value is considered at all phases. For example, when we're managing properties we're also managing for long-term value. So we're not only looking at what's coming out in terms of distributions in this year or next, we're also looking how we can ensure that the lease profile of the property is in its absolute best state to sell on when it comes to the end of the term. So Natgen, having our two basic investment streams being development trusts and investment trusts, provide our unit holders with a choice based on what their requirements in investment are. So really it's horses for courses. Investment trust participants get steady, regular income, reliable income on a monthly basis, and they can see what they're investing in before they actually invest because it's already existing. Development trust investors are less reliant on regular income but are looking for higher returns that are possible through development. We have unit holders that do either of those two things, and we have a number of unit holders that choose to use part of their investment portfolio for both types of investment. And by doing so, that by its nature is also a diversification, because you're diversifying into an income-centric vehicle in a Natgen investment trust and a capital-centric vehicle in terms of a Natgen development trust. Diversification is an important aspect of investment, both within property investment and all investment. So within a Natgen trust you can invest for as little as $100,000, and thus you can choose the types of investments that suit your needs the best. And with the relatively modest investment, you can choose to diversify by location or by the type of investment or by the type of property, secure in the knowledge that we're managing all those things very carefully. And management is one of the issues that's really important within Natgen trusts, because we're managing for long-term value, and that long-term value is important in every decision that we make, both in terms of developments, in terms of design, and in terms of management. All Natgen investments are open to wholesale investors. So if you'd like to consider an investment, we encourage you to A, read the information memorandum carefully from cover to cover, and B, take any advice which you may need from a trusted advisor. Thereafter, you can make application by either using our online portal at www.natgen.com.au or call us on 1300 100 292, where one of our team will be able to guide you through the process.